Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Well, welcome back again this week for another great podcast. I told you this third quarter, my goal was to find guests that would make a difference in your business, either for you personally or for your business. And today I found that guest again because we're going to talk about some things that's so important to every business, financials. So this becomes a key. And today our guest is Timothy. But Timothy, would you share with our listeners, what problem will you help them solve?
I think the problem I'm going to help them solve today will just be how to have an effective relationship with their accountant.
I think that's huge because the thing is, if they have got a great relationship there, that's going to make a difference for their business. So today I've got with us Timothy Wingate Jr. He's the founder and president of G+F Business and Financial Consulting. He's a licensed enrolled agent, a construction accountant, and Timothy provides specialized accounting and tax services, helping business owners gain a better understanding of their finances and costs, allowing them to win better, more profitable bids. With firsthand knowledge of the construction industry, Timothy offers tools and financial guidance to improve his clients' understanding of their finances and cash flow. He has a proven track record of success, including increasing a client's gross revenue by 75%, helping a new construction company finance a big cat equipment in less than a year, and helping a client avoid criminal charges for over $500,000 in back payroll taxes. Timothy, it's great to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Gary. I appreciate being here, and I'm excited about sharing with your audience today.
Well, I will tell anyone that's listening, we're going to talk specifically some about the construction industry, but if anybody knows taxes and financials, they cross paths. So I don't want you to, okay, I'm not in the construction industry. Maybe this podcast not for me. If you are a business owner, you need to hear this conversation because the financials are your key to success. And I think it's both ways. I think it's even if your business does great, because then it's about how can I reduce my tax burden. But if your business is struggling, we're going to talk about some things in that area too. So I appreciate you coming on. Let's really go out the gate and get started with some of those things, maybe a couple things that you feel that construction owners really need to understand about their business to operate it more profitably and successfully.
One of the first things is they need to have a good understanding of how they estimate jobs, meaning that they need to put a good set of cost codes together. So that way, and these cost codes is something that's shared not just with their field team, but it's shared with the back office team too, and then in their accounting department. Because the accountants, we can't do our job unless we really understand what's happening out there in the field. And so spending the time with your accountant, with your field guys, and coming together and saying, okay, these are our cost codes. This is what we do. This is how we bill. This is how we tag every job, every expense, every receipt. Is really going to help streamline everything so that way no one's chasing down someone else for the information. The information is recorded one time and everybody understands it. And so that's what, one of those most important things you need to do. Second, I would say is just to be diligent about those receipts. I can't stress that, enough. You have to find a way to create a great process that helps you record receipts. And this works for any business. Because when the IRS come to do an audit, they're not going to be asking, hey, let me look at your bank statement. Let me see your tax return, those things tax return they already have. The bank statement It's not going to tell us what you spent at Target, you know, or Home Depot and all these things. So they want to see the receipt. The receipt is going to give them all the information. And so you need to have a good way of being able to document and record those receipts. And I recommend a cloud storage system. So we at G plus F, we recommend DEXT, and great system. It integrates with QuickBooks. So you want to make sure that you use that to take pictures of your receipts and record everything that's happening with the receipts, and just be consistent. Like if you're not the one who's going to upload those things into Dex, give it to someone who will, and do that every day or at least once a week. And I would say for the third thing is tax season doesn't start in December. It doesn't start in January. You know, for us, tax season starts in October. So October every year, you need to now be reaching out to your accountant, having these strategic questions because they may be missing information. Um, they may need you to go get some information, um, to make certain purchases, to hold back from doing certain things. You know, there's a lot that they will be able to advise you on and give you enough time, which is 3 months, to do those things so that way you can be ready for tax season. Because tax season is just for us to prepare the taxes. It's not time for us to tax plan. It's not time for us to do all those things that you think that goes into a tax return. A tax return is just a picture of what happened the previous year, and we're just recording and reporting that information to the IRS.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on the third quarter before we even got in the fourth quarter. I want them thinking about this right now because I agree with that philosophy. I think too many business owners, they think it's, well, when the year's over, it's too late. Then it's just about reporting. But even in December, it doesn't give you a time to make proper decisions. And that's when they make mistakes, to be quite honest. They do things they think to save taxes. And really, you would never do that. Like buy a new truck and you
Hmm.
got a little bit of tax deduction, but you lost $20,000 in the transaction because the dealer made a bunch of money and you lost a bunch of money. And it's thinking about those type of things become so important. So appreciate what you say there is really about estimating those jobs because most companies that, and especially in construction, you do a lot of estimating and knowing what those cost codes and getting them correct and stuff and making sure your receipts are in and then looking at the tax season. Let's talk a little bit. We talked a little bit about it offline a little bit, Timothy, and I'm curious what you say here because I think it falls right in line with that. So I wanted to ask it now. Is you talked about really getting your processes in place. And I think this, of course, it applies to all businesses, and we said that. But in the construction industry, this becomes huge because if them processes are not in place, there can be missed items, and then that can really cost them the company and they don't end up charging it out to their actually owner or the person they're working for in the construction industry.
Yeah, processes are so important in any industry, but especially construction, because construction is nothing but processes. It's how we move material from one place to the next. It's how we, finish the job, how we get information from one place to the next. So it's all about processes. So if you're not a good process person, but you're in construction or you own a construction company, get someone on your team who understands processes very well or who can help you, streamline some of those things. Um, I will tell you, a lot of people think that, okay, where do construction owners lose the most money? And I can tell you, it's not in estimating; it's actually in scheduling.
Mhm.
And so you'll be really shocked. You're like, scheduling, yes, because if the schedule doesn't flow with the right cadence, meaning that if you plan to have a job completed in 6 months and it take you now 9 months, 12 months, you have lost so much money that you won't be able to realize it until the end of the project. Because then you'll be like, hold on, because we couldn't finish on time, we couldn't take on like three other projects that were at my doorstep that I had to say no to because we were still finishing up this, and those projects probably, would have yielded you 20, 30% on those jobs, and you missed out on all those opportunities because you're finishing up here. And then now, because you're taking longer here, you probably paid some of these guys overtime. You probably did, ordered more materials or had to reorder materials because, you know, for some reason, misuse of materials or overuse of materials, so there's a lot of different things that go wrong on a construction job, um, that if the process is not there and not tight and someone's managing it, then a lot of things go wrong. And then you wonder why you can't get ahead. It's because you don't have tight processes that someone is managing efficiently to help your company move forward. And so process is the name of the game. You gotta tighten up on those, and they don't get better overnight. You work a little bit at a time. So don't think you gotta do all these three things that you gotta do overnight. No, find things that move the needle the quickest, and then just keep building upon that. And that's how I would take care of it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you talked about efficiency, because we got to create efficiency. As we know, there's not enough skilled people out there in the labor force.
Mhm.
So the thing is, if you can do things more efficiently, and when you have a truly good schedule set up, that's going to allow you to be more efficient, even on the job site for the individuals that's there, but in also in the office, the back end, that it creates a difference there. And you kind of touched on something that I wanted to get into. So let's go there a little bit. Is, kind of on those margins on jobs, what a construction owner can do, because that's the key. Is, you're working off that margin, no different than retail. I mean, we have
Mhm.
margins. If you sell a widget, you have a margin that you do. Well, your margin a lot of times is what? It's that individual, it's that person that, of course, that you have to have in the area of the margin that's there. So maybe that individual it's on the job, but there's other things in margins too. So is there any other tips or things that you've learned in your experience that you've seen? Because you see a lot of different companies now that, you're specifically niched in this construction area, and that allows you to see something that I'm sure a lot of accountants never see.
Yeah. So, one of those things is, there's this thing of like, what should my margin be? you know, and I tell you, it's different for every single company. It's different.
Yeah.
And because there are specialized contractors who have different margins. Then you have the general contractors, you have people who are doing residential work versus people who are doing commercial work, so, and then some people who are doing a combination of the two. So the margins are going to be different. So really what you have to focus on is, where do I want my company to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? So, and what does it look like when we've met that goal? So now I need to make sure that I have margins to support that.
Mm,
And because I could be the same company, I could have a tile laying company, and you have a tile laying company, but you want to keep your business, your operation small. You don't want no more than 5 guys in the field. You don't want to make no more than, $1 million a year, and you're good with just taking home, $100,000 salary, and that's all you want to do. Whereas I may want to have a $50 million tile laying company, and I want to have, 100 employees. So my margins in the very beginning, we're both starting at the same time, have to look very different. I have to price my jobs totally different than you would have to price your jobs, because I want to obtain different things. And so because I may have a higher price, that gives me an opportunity to deliver a higher quality of service. Because I'm able to focus more on your project. I'm able to hire more skilled workers. I'm able to, because I'm charging a higher price, I'm able to offer a greater or better benefits package to attract, the higher skilled employees and workers, so that way you can get a better product. So it's like all these things makes a difference, and they all affect, your margin. So don't compare yourself to the next guy when you start to think about margins. Really think about where you're trying to take the company and then work your way backwards to margin.
That's great advice, is because that's really beginning with the end in mind. Stephen
Yep.
Covey, where do you want to go, and really getting your business set up that way. We're going to get into a few more details as we move along, but we need to take a short commercial break, but we'll be right back. Are you a business owner striving for balance in your life? Ready to find the answers that are keeping you from reaching your goals? We created the Business Owner's Life Domain Assessment Quiz to help business owners find clarity. You can take our free assessment and unlock what is holding you back. This assessment will gauge your well being in health, relationships, business, personal goals, and finances. By responding to a few thought provoking questions, you will gain clarity on what truly matters for your success and fulfillment. Receive your free personalized life domain score, revealing your strengths and areas for improvements. With this knowledge, you will be able to make informed decisions to enhance your well being and thrive in all aspects of your life. Don't miss this opportunity to excel in your personal and professional endeavors. Take the free Business Owner's Life Domain Assessment Quiz now and unlock your path to a more fulfilling and balanced life as an entrepreneur. Just go to show notes and click the link, Business Owner's Life Assessment. It's free. And now back to the show. Well, I really like what you said there with margins, because it's so important of knowing what you want out of the business and where you plan on going. And I think this is something that's so important too, because, like I said, you're very specific in this niche. And I think that's the question I would have if I'm listening to this is, okay, I have a traditional accountant. What's the difference versus someone like you that you're really based in to be a construction accountant?
Yeah, so yeah, think about it. We only work with primarily construction clients, day in, day out. We're seeing the same type of transactions. We're working with the same softwares, and everybody's, understanding exactly how to move in and out um, of this relationship with the softwares that we use and also with us. So when you think about a traditional accountant is probably working with 10 industries, 15 different industries. I don't know about you, but I can't split my head into 15 into 10 different tasks and do them all at the same time. It's just it would drive me insane. It will only drive me insane because I want to be the best at everything that I do. And so I realized very early that in order to really service an industry properly, I need to focus on it. I need to know, you know, where they like to go, where they like to shop, where their habits are, all these different things. I need to speak their language. And for me, it was easy because my father, he's a general contractor, and I've been hearing him speak and hearing him talk and been a part of his business deals all my life. So I know what the construction guys like to see and how they like to operate. And I understand their strength and their weaknesses. And so a construction accountant like myself is bringing all of that experience and knowledge, to your company because they've been working with just your type of people or your industry for years, and that's it. Versus a traditional accountant can't really recommend the right setup for you, can't really recommend the best strategies for you because it's not that they're not smart, it's just they're just not familiar with all the different things that's out there to service your industry because they can't focus just solely on your industry. And so if you want someone who's going to be able to recommend things to you, with confidence, and to know that it works, and to know that you're going to get results and those type of things, because they've gotten those results, then that's why you choose a construction accountant. You know,
Yeah.
because you just want someone who gets it.
Yeah. And I can see the real benefit because you're seeing multiple in the same industry. So you're seeing what's best in class. And to be quite honest, you know where I'm sure you've probably seen it where some businesses failed before they got you early enough and stuff. You couldn't recover from it and stuff on that
Yeah.
side of it. And I love what you say, and you've got it on your screen there, and some of them, a lot of people are listening to it. You know, it's got your name, but it's business and financial consulting. And
Mhm.
that's the difference too, as you're looking at accountants. I'm sorry, there's just too many in the accounting field. They give you, you give them numbers and they give you back your numbers.
Yeah.
That is not financial consulting. What they need to do is they have to help you in this process of how can you make your business better? Maybe
Mhm.
you can move your margins from whatever it is, 6% to 8%. You
Yeah.
know, that's huge depending on the dollars you do, or if it's 4 to 6%, that becomes huge. And you see those items that's there. And that's the key. And then I always believe we talked about it earlier, the efficiency. We've got
Mhm.
to find efficiency in our business because it doesn't matter. I know the construction industry's hit hard, but it's basically millennials and Generation Z, 44 and younger, since 2000, since 1980, we've not hit the replacement rate of workers that we need of 2.1 of birth rates, but only like 1 or 2 years. And
Yeah.
that means there's just less people in the workforce. Some people
Mhm.
want to say, oh, people don't want to work. I don't think it's that. There's just so
No.
fewer of them than there was
Yeah.
before. And in the construction industry, they're seeing that. People aren't going into the construction industry, but they're starting to see, hey, trades, there's going to be a high income level. But in a business, you can do that same thing. So great information there, Timothy. I appreciate you sharing that and wanted to harp on that a little bit because I want people to think about that. But let's talk about this one because it's probably the last thing that could really help them some is, sometimes construction and all industries do this, but I've seen it in construction companies. They get themselves a little bit beyond their skis too fast and stuff. I
Mhm.
call that, meaning they get too many expenses and too many loans and things of that nature. When do you think is that right time to apply for a loan or maybe a line of credit in a construction company that you've seen in your experience?
Yeah, so it's two ways. One way is the company is profitable. If it's not profitable, it's not time to apply for a loan. You want to apply for a loan when things are going well, not when you're in need. So that's one thing. The other thing is when you have landed some huge contracts, because you may, you know, be starting like a startup, because it's very hard for startups to get loans. But but it's not impossible to get loans as a startup. But you got to have the right contracts to get those loans. And so people are willing to take the risk because they know the money is coming. There's ways, that they can set you up with, like, loans, like factoring companies, who will pay some of the invoices for you to be reimbursed by the client, give you a little bit more time to collect on those invoices, those type of things. So that way you can manage your cash flow a lot better. So there's a lot of different loan products out there and programs out there, but you do one thing that's common. The common denominator is you have to have financials.
Yeah.
So, you can't, they can't be all over the place. They have to be clean. They have to match with your bank statements. They need to reconcile. You need to have your tax returns filed, all those things. Like, you don't walk into, a bank or any lender and say, I don't have financials, but I want a loan. Like, you just can't do that. So you need to have this stuff put together, and it needs to make sense. It can't be, oh, I've been working on my QuickBooks. They're a little bit dirty, but I think these numbers are good enough. No, they need to be rock solid. They need to be rock solid, not only for your information, but definitely for the lender's information as well.
Yeah, that's great information. And I will tell you, I sit on a bank board, and people that don't have strong financials and that the backup and stuff on them, they're the ones that get turned down because it's too big of a risk for the bank, because
Yep.
they can't really see where they're at. And if they have no assets to go along with that. So I'm so glad you said that, because that is so important to have, getting those numbers together, getting put together. And, the banks want to work with you because that's how they
Yeah.
make money, folks.
Yep.
They get paid. That's interest, and stuff, how they make money on it and stuff. But you've got to come to them. And I love what you said there too, is sometimes it's not when you actually need it, especially like a line of credit. It's not when you're in dire need of a line of credit that you go get a line of credit. You get a line of credit when you are in good position and stuff. And if you don't ever use it, great, but it's
Yeah.
sitting there and it's available to you. But when times are tough and then you need it, then guess what? It's harder. It's a lot harder to get that line of credit. So some great information, man. I think you and I could have a conversation for the next hour and keep going on this. But of course, we know our people that's listening are very busy, Timothy, and we want to give them some great information, but I also want to share with them how they can reach out to you. And basically, they can schedule a meeting with you. We're going to have that in show notes and stuff. If you want to hear a little bit more and talk to him, we're going to have that. It's construction.accountant. And we're going to have that in show notes where you can just click that. But also on his website, go to his website, some great information. I went there earlier to really check it out and stuff. And he's got some great information on his website. And it's at the same place, construction.accountant. So we're going to have that in show notes with you. And you work with people. I know you're based out of Florida, but you work with them all across the country. Is that correct, Timothy?
All across the country. We have people in Colorado, Wisconsin, the Maryland area, Texas, all these places. So, we can service all over.
Okay. And we're going to try to get you some from Missouri, because I'm from Missouri. That's where this podcast comes out from. And he's on
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. So it's got a lot of information out there. One thing I loved about what Timothy did, and one reason I said, yes, I want him on the podcast, is he's an educator first. And you probably noticed that from the conversation we already had. He's trying to share with you things that he's learned and what he's seen from clients. And that's what I want when people come on the podcast. Timothy, before I let you go, though, I ask every guest this question. Maybe it's about something we talked about, maybe something totally different. But what would you share with them, your best advice you would give the business owners?
The best advice, it may seem cliche, it may seem like, oh man, this is unexpected from an accountant, but to set the vision for your company, because everyone who's a part of your company need to know where we're going or where we're trying to go. That's the only way we can help. Because if you're just flying by the seat of your pants, we don't know what numbers make sense, what numbers don't make sense. So I know from an accounting perspective, if you tell me, hey, in 5 years I want to have 10 employees, and I want to be at $5 million in revenue. Okay, so now I can see where we are today. I can see what profit margins are being generated today, and I can tell you if we're on track to hit that. And then also, you said you want to have 10 employees. Then I can say, okay, are we making enough today, or do we have enough in savings and reserves to be able to bring on 10 employees? Because when you hire an employee, they don't make you money right away. Like, you have to train them, you have to get them to a certain level of competence so they can actually start to make you money. And so your hiring process, all these different things need to be in place to make sure that you make the right hires, so you don't throw away all this money hiring the wrong person. So there's all that is tied to your vision and company culture, and you just really need to work on that. If you haven't spent the time writing out your vision, and I believe in writing it out, spend the time to write it out and share it with everyone. Share it with friends, family, employees, uh, colleagues, everyone. So now everyone knows how to help you move your business forward.
That's great advice, Timothy. I appreciate you sharing that, because I believe in that too. I do a thing called Clarity Navigator, And basically what it is, it's getting your 3-year vision together. I know people talk 5 and 10, and you can talk that way, but the thing is, and then getting a real good plan together on that 3-year. And what I call that, reason I call it Clarity Navigator, is you know what the vision is, but now you have the goals, and not just in the business. I'm going to challenge you. And I think, Timothy, we talked about a little bit about exercise and things
Yeah.
before we came on the podcast, but also in life, those key areas in your life, because you don't want everything to go in your business and everything at home starts to fall by the wayside, because then you're building something that, when it starts getting split, boy, that's hard to keep a business going
Yeah.
in those areas. So some great advice there. I appreciate you sharing that. And that's going to be my action item for you. Create your vision and then get really solid on setting up some 3-year goals, breaking them down to 1 year, and really what do you want to achieve in those key life domains in your life in each one of those. Professional is definitely one of them. Your career, your business is one of them, but it's also in the other areas of health and spiritual and thinking about your relationships that's there, and even the new skills that you've got to learn, getting those all built into it. So I can help you with that, and Timothy can help you with the accounting side. So wanted to be able to say that in those different areas. Now, remember, his website is construction.accountant. We're going to have it all in show notes that you can reach out to Timothy, set up a call with him. It's a no obligation call, so he'll visit with you, kind of see how your business running and talk about your example. I know Timothy well enough that even if you say no to him, he's going to give you some nuggets that you're going to be able to take and be able to use in your business right away. So I encourage you to do that. And I appreciate you being on, Timothy. Some great information you shared with our listeners today.
Thank you, Gary, for having me on. And I look forward to meeting with anyone who wants to meet with me. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is your vision? I can guarantee it.
They got the action item, so they're going to be ready to go for you when they do that. So, and you don't have to have all those other pieces when you talk to Timothy. He'll help you lay some of that out, at least in your business side of it. And we can lay some of the other areas out as time goes on. So again, do that and come back next week. And remember, you may know someone that you've listened to this podcast. I really ask people to do this. There's 3 little dots on your app that you can share this podcast just by sending them a text message. And if you know a construction buddy, go ahead and share it with them. I've already got several names listed off of mine, and it's not just people that are the general contractors. I've thought about someone that did tile and someone that did carpet and some different areas that this would be beneficial to them. If you would share that, we truly appreciate it very much. Come back next week and we'll have another great guest for you. Make it a great day.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when you find the right solutions, your business grows, and you get your time back.